What's going on, guys? Welcome back to my channel. I'm filming today from Indonesia, and I just wanted to come on here and I just wanted to show you this view before I sit down, like stabilize the camera. It's so beautiful. This is the hotel I'm staying at. It's like, can I even call it a hotel? I don't know. It's called Pundak Nyoman. It's my room up there. It's a bunch of little different like villas and stuff. Very nice. Highly recommend it if you come to Bali, Indonesia. Is that gonna work? What if I sit down here? How's that? No, you can't see me. There we go. That works. So yeah, I just wanted to come on here today and talk about like how to enrich your traveling experiences based off of something that I've been noticing come up quite frequently, and that is interaction with the locals, seemingly being like a kind of surprising to them at times. They've mentioned a lot that a lot of people don't take the time to stop and have a human conversation with them. And that's been one of my favorite parts about traveling so far. Been here for about a week, and that's honestly been one of my favorite parts, just kind of getting to know the culture here from, directly from the horse's mouth. And I wouldn't have been able to do any of that if I wasn't open to having conversations with the local people. And they've mentioned many people aren't, like most people are not. They always ask, where are you from? And, I tell them Canada. And they say that it's usually always Canadians and Australians that are open to having conversations with them and getting to know them and, learning about their ways a little bit. And that people from other places tend to just only want to talk business, and if it's not like business related or information related, then they don't care to have any like interaction or conversations with them. And I think I can understand why, because there's a lot of cities here, there's a lot of towns where honestly, like the first few days that I was here, I was in some towns where it felt like a little bit of a hassle to interact with some of the locals because they're just trying to sell you stuff. Like you walk down a lot of the streets in these types of towns like Kuta or Ubud are just lined with shops that are just trying to sell stuff, and like you can't walk by one without somebody saying, yeah, come look, please, come on, a cheap price just for you. So I can understand where if you spend time in towns like that, you would become quite averse to interacting with some of the locals, because it gets very draining to constantly be like, no, it's okay, thank you. Like after a while, honestly, you kind of just like look at them, smile, and keep walking. Or at least that's kind of been what I've noticed in my own behavior. And it's for a reason, right? Like I said, it's very draining, but don't let those types of interactions kind of tint the glasses that you see the rest of the island with, or the rest of the country that you're visiting. I could imagine this is a phenomenon in a lot of places where you have certain towns that are very, very tourist oriented and very dependent on sales of like goods and services to tourists, right? They're trying to sell you massages, they're trying to sell you clothes, whatever it might be. So you get, very averse to these kinds of interactions, and then you just associate the local people with draining interactions. But if you go to other towns where that's not necessarily the case, you can have some really good interactions with people where you learn a lot about their way of life and their culture. Like just yesterday, now we're in a town here, I think it's called Mendugul. I've been here for like a day, I'm not really sure to be honest, but we're in a town where it's away from the more touristy areas. Like we went to a lake in this town yesterday. We're up in the mountains, it's like more north in Bali. And a lot of the people were looking at me and my partner like this, like, and so many groups of people were asking to take pictures with us, which was pretty funny. I guess I don't know, I guess they like don't see tourists that often. So we ended up taking a bunch of pictures with a lot of people, which I quite enjoyed. I thought that was pretty funny. And you know, you get to see their smiling faces. And actually, I ended up giving my phone to one of them too, saying, "Here, okay, I want the picture also." So that's a fun little memory. But in towns like this, where you're not seen like in the tourist towns, I feel like it's like dehumanizing almost, or at least it can feel that way. But in these types of towns, yesterday at that lake that I was just talking about, some guy walked by and he had a camera, and he said, "Oh, like I take your pictures, I send to you," and you know, he wanted some cash for that, and you know, we weren't interested, so we said no thank you. He said, "Okay, no problem." And then he said, "Where are you from?" And he started talking with us. And you know, we had a really nice conversation with this man. We learned a lot about his life. We learned a lot about the town. We talked to him for like 10-15 minutes, and those are my favorite kind of experiences here so far. Just really learning about like their way of life and their culture, and just interacting with people that it really is like eye-opening to see through their lens a little bit, and just get a glimpse of like how they see the world and what their life is like, and how different it is from, you know, my own life, and you know, life in the West. That's predominantly how I know life to be, so it's kind of like a culture shock when I get my eyes opened up that way, and I can kind of like see through their lens. And it's also a very Hindu island, but there was a lot of Muslims in that town that we passed through yesterday as well. But just getting to talk to different people and learning about even their religion. The place that we're staying right now, it's a very Hindu place, and the owner, Nyoman, it's called Pandak Nyoman. Pandak just means like it's like a dwelling, like huts. So it's named after him. It's like his huts. I noticed like on one of the walls it had all these awards, and you know, lots of pictures with him with different people, and his name was like all over all these awards. So I asked him about them, and he was telling me, you know, he's been in hospitality for 32 years, and he's actually traveled throughout Asia, and he's like a chairman of this different company that services people in training hospitality and training employees at hotels. And really, he was just talking about how he values like passing on his knowledge, and then he was telling us about the way that this whole place is set up, and why it's set up that way. And he showed us, this is my home, and this is the prayer room where I meditate, and this is the kitchen, and this is the area where we do all our ceremonies, right? It's like the equivalent to, you know, I grew up Christian, so it's the equivalent to your baptism and confirmation and wedding and even like funerals and stuff like that. He said it all happens under here, right from when you're born up until death. And he was teaching us a little bit about the Hindu faith, and he mentioned they have the 3 pillars. The first pillar is human to human connection. The second pillar is human to nature connection, and that's where you see all the different deities in the Hindu faith. It's different manifestations of what they call, you know, God, as different components of nature. They assign a deity to. So like there's the goddess of rice, for example, and that's just different manifestations of God. And so that's the human to nature connection, and then there's the human to the Godhead connection. And yeah, that was the 3 pillars that he was kind of educating us about, which was really interesting. And I remember actually learning about that like in high school, but to hear it come from him, and he obviously went a lot more in depth and with more clarity and knowledge than I just presented to you, right? I'm just kind of reiterating what he said. But it was really interesting, and it was really beautiful, all the different components of his faith that he was telling us about. And it's just really cool to see the world through a different lens, a lens that I'm not very familiar with, that I wouldn't really see too often without coming to this side of the world. So all in all, I guess what I'm trying to say here is be open to having conversations with the local people. And because for me personally, that's been like one of my favorite parts about traveling so far, is getting to know some locals, having some conversations with them, learning from them, seeing through their eyes. And anytime that we've done that for more than like 10, 15 minutes at a time, they've always said, oh, you know, you guys are very humble, that you take the time to talk to us. And it's like, well, thank you for taking the time to talk to me. Like, what do you mean? And then they tell us, like, yeah, people don't really do this often, right? Like, it's kind of rare. People don't really want to talk to you this sort of way. They're not open. They don't want to communicate like this. So oftentimes it's just like a salesman to I don't know what's the word, to consumer relationship. And I can see how it would stay that way based off of the first impression that you might make if you arrive in like a touristy town, like I was explaining before. But try to look past that, and you'll get a lot of really enriching experiences through conversations with the local people, and you'll grow a lot of knowledge, and just like I said, just really enrich your traveling experience. At least for me, that's my bias, and I just wanted to come on here and share that with you guys. So a little bit of a different video today, but I hope you find that to be some nice insight, and I hope that serves you on any travel adventures that you go on in the near future. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Have a good one.